Hello, Kathy, Luz, Connie, Christine, Ellie, Rebecca, Tricia, Kayla, Alyssa, Alicia, and Jasmine. Thank you for another great week of discussion during week 3. I hope all of you had a wonderful Thanksgiving break, some time to relax, some time with family. Back into it for week 4. Few comments about week 3. Great discussion once again. I appreciated Alyssa, you pointing out that you said, I am also seeing from the material so far how important the planning process is, and that including the specifics of the scope and what is out of the scope leaves less room for confusion. Two really important things, two really helpful things in that comment. One is, as I've said before, in project management, the planning part of the process really is the heart of it. It's easy to think that executing the actual production of an item or the provision of a service that's the main thing. But for project management, the main thing is the planning. The planning takes up a lot of time, it takes up a lot of effort, and it is the ability to plan well that enables a project manager to produce something that is valuable and of very high quality. The planning is the key. And the key part of the planning, as Alyssa pointed out, is the scope. When you're able to create a scope that clearly defines what's inside and what's not included in the project, that is enormously helpful. And yet, you really can't do that 100% at the beginning. As Kathy pointed out when she was talking about the project in her experience, the scope it's a living document. The scope does change as you're going through the planning process, and perhaps even as you've moved into executing, you see, we need to change this. We need to include this. We really can't do that. We need to exclude that. So the thing about project management is it is what's called an iterative process. In other words, you have more than one iteration. You have more than one time that you go through things. So you do scope planning. You go through the process, you plan your scope, you come up with the ideas, and you move on to the next thing. But then as the planning continues, as the project continues, you go back and evaluate your scope, and you say, okay, we need to make this change, we need to make that change. So it's not a one and done process. It's, again, the $10 word is it's an iterative process. There's more than one time that you go through these pieces in order to come up with a plan, and then in order to come up with a product or a service that is of high quality. The other part of the discussion in week 3, the piece about standard job templates, Kayla pointed out standard job templates provide guidance to employees, saving time and increasing efficiency, and it's especially important for new workers and part-time workers. She had the turn of phrase for this week: it avoids multiple hands in the cookie jar. So it's not just that your standard job template can help people to understand what their job is, but in some cases, just as importantly, it can help some people understand what their job is not, so that you don't have people trying to do the same thing and stepping on each other's toes, and one person trying to do it one way, another person trying to do it another way, and things getting messed up. And Tricia pointed out a great observation that one way in the context of Global Green Books that you can help things go well with a standard job template is to include checklists. Because we have these, we have new employees coming in, we have all these part-time employees. If we have checklists, then when Bob, who works from 3 to 6, leaves, he's filled out the checklist so that when Mary picks up at 6 o'clock, she sees exactly what's been done, and she could just continue to move along the process. Great suggestion, Tricia. So in the assignment, as you were working through that first piece of the project management plan, the simple project management plan template, the executive summary. The executive summary is sort of a teaser. It's an invitation to the reader to read the rest of your plan. It frames what the problem is, how the problem is going to get solved, and then what the benefits are to the company. So very, very briefly, the basics for our Global Green Books project is the problem is Global Green Books is not able to produce these customized textbooks for the university. There have been a whole bunch of problems. We haven't been able to do it on time. We haven't been able to do it at high quality. That's the problem. The solution is this project that Samantha is going to run. Samantha is going to come up with a project management plan. She's going to come up with job templates. She's going to come up with a framework for producing these 5 customized textbooks and then actually produce these textbooks for the university. The benefit is that the university will continue to be a customer for Global Green Books because we're not going to drop the ball this time. We're going to produce these 5 customized textbooks and do it on time and do them very well. And it also positions Global Green Books to seek out new customers in the customized textbook market and perhaps expand and have another lucrative income stream. So that's kind of the executive summary in very brief. You could expand on that a little bit, but that would be adequate. And the scope, as we've said many times, the scope is what's included in this project. And you can do it as a list, as I presented it, as the textbook presents it. You could present it as a paragraph, as a narrative. Either way is fine. You'll see, if you look at examples of scope, you'll see them both ways if you do a search. Either way is fine. The thing is to include things as much as possible so that it's clear what's part of the project, and then also have that section what's not included. If you can think of something that somebody would say, well, gee, that would be really awesome if we put that in there, but you don't want it in there because it's not part of the project. It's not part of these 5 customized textbooks. That's all we're doing here. We're not doing print books. We're not doing it. Global Green Books is not set up to that. Some professor might have a desire. You know what? I would really like 50 copies of this so I could share it with my colleagues and give them to my best students. That's a wonderful idea, Professor, but I'm sorry, that's not in the scope. We don't do it. And when that's clear from the beginning, that really helps the project. Another thing about the project management plan, the work breakdown. The work breakdown, it's a very detailed sort of thing. And in feedback to many of you, I gave you some examples. But go back to the textbook. Go back to that chapter in the textbook. See how detailed the breakdown of tasks is. And I'm not going to ask you to redo things. I mean, you can. I suggest some of you that if I said, go ahead and redo it if you want to increase your grade, you're totally welcome to do that. But to help you to understand that this is a very detailed process to do the WBS. This coming week, we're going to be looking at resources and budget. And I guess the most important thing is forget about doing an analogous budget preparation and a parametric estimate. Only use a very simplified bottom-up. So take the details that we have, especially in that document, that Global Green Books additional information document that's in the Week 2 materials module. There's a document at the very end that has some additional information. That in that document you'll see how much it costs to reprint articles from the different publishers. You'll see how much each person who works at Global Green Books gets paid per hour. So you'll have some of that information so that you can do kind of a bottom-up estimate of the cost of this project. You could say, okay, well, we reprint 10 articles from Avon Publishing. This is how much it's going to cost. We have to have the publisher's liaison work for X number of hours, and you're going to have to just kind of guesstimate that, and that's okay. I'm not going to be taking points off and say, oh, well, no, the publisher's liaison has to work 22 hours, not just 20 hours. I'm not going to do that. But the exercise is meant to give you an opportunity to work through this process and get a feel for how it works. You don't have all the answers. You don't have all the information that a real project manager would have. So you have to use your imagination a little bit. And if there's anything that's unclear and you want to ask me, again, please ask me. Send me an email. Even send me a text or give me a call. All of those things are okay. The goal of this class is to give you a sense of what it means to put together a project management plan. It's not 100% real, but it gives you the framework, it gives you an idea. And hopefully then when you move into doing things in your career, you'll have a little bit of a framework that will be helpful. And you'll know if you do decide to study project management further and get your certified associate in project management, this will give you a framework for moving on to accomplish that goal. So again, thank you all very much for all of your work. I really appreciate it. And if there is any way that I can be helpful, please reach out to me. Thanks.